¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, 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 everybody. Oops, sorry. Hold on, folks. Let me get this out of my way. There we go. I'm cool like that. Welcome. It is indeed Monday. That is a cool AF load screen. I appreciate that, Left is Best. Love the username. Appreciate that. Alio with the 11 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. How's it going, everybody? Cosmic Seeking, welcome. Welcome. What is on the agenda? We have quite a few things to go through, so I guess we should get it started. We have Kanye West, we have climate recap, we have Steve Bannon, the Department of Justice, asking for 6 months of prison time for Steve Bannon. The Trump Organization charging the Secret Service as much as $1,000 per night. I'm having a real difficulty living with the meltdown of my government and our economy. Well, everybody's pretty much, I think everybody's feeling the whole economy thing, so that's kind of across the board. Such a grift, true. From now on, all our elections need to be resolved through Squid Games. True. That should be the new process going forward. Somebody did challenge MTG, like representative? Who? Like, meaning she's not going to run unopposed? Well, that's good. Oh, during the debate. Oh, okay. I'm not sure why I can barely hear myself, but whatever. It's okay. Oh, I know. I can just boost myself up over here. Hello, hello. There we go. Yeah, I can just boost myself up. The guy who debated MTG made her look bad, but he won't win. I mean, it's not really that hard to make Representative Green look bad. She just has to talk. That's it. It's not exactly hard to make her look bad. So, you know. All right, folks, let's get this show started. I think we should start with a follow-up to Kanye. Getting her to shut up is the challenge. True. Impossible. All right. I guess we should start with the Kanye stuff. I couldn't find, well, this was probably the easiest way to deliver this. So, it is what it is. Hang with me, folks. Known stealer of sets, David Pakman.
I have never seen anything like what I am about to play for you. Kanye West went on something called Drink Champs and delivered one of the most anti-Semitic rants against the Jewish people that I have ever seen in the sort of modern media era, short of actual Nazis. And it's basically there. Kanye West in controversy lately. I won't go through the entire thing. He's
I mean, like the comments that Kanye has said is basically indistinguishable from like Nazi rhetoric. So yeah, that's not exactly an exaggeration, unfortunately.
Artist. He was recently wearing White Lives Matter gear.
Yeah.
And then he went on the Tucker Carlson show and said a whole bunch of stuff, including anti-Semitic stuff, which got cut out, but which we ultimately obtained and looked at last week. Let's go through this. And I'm telling you, I have not seen anything like this in the modern era, short of from over white supremacist Nazis. Let's just jump right in, and I will stop it and talk about some of the things he says.
We made the White Lives Matter
There we go. Okay, here we are. Sorry. I thought he was going to go on for a bit. Hold on.
tees. And then when I put up the tweet, the DEF CON tweet, now he ain't releasing the tee because he's Jewish. And I'm like, see, this is my exact point.
Oh no, we're just gonna quadruple, triple down on this whole Jewish question thing. Okay, yeah, since he can't tweet anymore, he's buying Parler. We'll talk about that. We will talk about that.
That I'm making, like Jewish people have owned the black voice.
What?
Yeah, this is some Jewish question stuff. This is basically indistinguishable from the JQ. Come on. There we go.
Jewish people have owned the black voice. You know, it's interesting because Kanye's recent thing over the last few years has been black folks have no one to blame but ourselves for slavery, which is like a crazy thing to say. But now all of a sudden he's actually found something better. His first thing was black folks, we should just blame ourselves for everything bad. Now he's actually saying, oh, you know, it's Jews.
Yeah, it's the Jews. Yeah, it's indistinguishable. It's the Jewish, like the Jewish question.
Jews. The truth is, Jewish folks have been one of the premier partners for black folks in the United States to demand and obtain equality, rights, self-determination. Jewish folks have been killed, in fact, defending and supporting black folks. Remember the movie Mississippi Burning? About the murders of black rights activists in Mississippi? Sometimes people see the names and they get confused because the victims were James Chaney and Andrew Goodman and Michael Schwerner. And people will look at that and say, Goodman and Schwerner, those aren't exactly typical black names. That's right. They were Jewish men from New York City because the Jewish activists were so intertwined with the civil rights movement. The history is so intertwined. Kanye is way off track. Now let's continue.
Whether it's through us wearing a Ralph Lauren shirt.
Okay. Ralph Lauren shirts. So I realize that for me, all this stuff, I'm familiar with every one of these things. But for a lot of people, they don't know. What Ralph Lauren, what do you mean? Why Ralph Lauren? Ralph Lauren, the designer, was born.
Wait. Is Ralph Lauren Jewish?
Lifshitz, a Jewish guy from New York City. So Kanye says wearing Ralph Lauren. It's another way in which Jews are controlling us. Well, why not Tommy Hilfiger? I mean, black folks, like other people, also wear Tommy Hilfiger. Well, Tommy Hilfiger isn't Jewish, so it's not interesting to Kanye. Ralph Lauren is Jewish, so that is more interesting.
Or it's all of us being signed to a record label, or having a Jewish manager, or being signed to a Jewish basketball team.
What is a Jewish basketball team? He doesn't-
Yeah, like I first of all, I don't know what that even means. And second of all, yeah, all artists are, all big time artists and whatnot usually, are signed with record labels. Yes, it's not just like black artists. I don't know what his point was there.
doesn't mean an Israeli. I mean, there's an Israeli professional basketball league. That's not what he means. Does he mean a team where the owner is Jewish, or the general manager, or what is a Jewish basketball team? And, there is this, for people who care about this stuff, there is a very important historical story about how Jews were pushed into certain professions. There were all sorts of industries in which Jews were just not allowed to participate. And what happened was there was a period where the industries Jews were allowed to participate in were the ones wherein the sort of learning and training could kind of happen on your own, like a bunch of Jews not allowed to do a whole bunch of other stuff. They could get together and talk about, whatever. Is it the law? Is it whatever? And so the very discrimination against Jews created an environment in which Jews were pushed towards certain industries. The conspiracy to control those industries is where it gets completely anti-Semitic. But there is a discrimination history that talks about and explains why you saw Jews pushed towards certain industries. Anyway, this stuff is really nuts.
Or doing a movie on a Jewish platform like Disney.
Okay. But what is Jewish? What is a Jewish platform? The interview should have been over. The interview should have been like, all right, yeah, dude. Anyways, don't come back here. That's enough of that. I agree with you. Bipedal me bag.
What is a Jewish platform like Disney? Walt Disney was not only not Jewish, he had a reputation for being very anti-Semitic. Walt Disney. So I don't know how it's now a Jewish platform. Like the current president of Disney is Bob Chapek. Maybe he's Jewish. I don't know. I don't know whether Kanye knows that. It's really nuts.
And we understand it's like I respect what the Jewish people have done and how
What have they done?
they brought their people together. They came into money through the lawyers.
Oh boy.
When after Wall Street, when
What does that mean after Wall Street?
when all of the like the Catholics, they wouldn't divorce people.
So that's truly bonkers. Jewish lawyers came into money by divorcing people when the Catholics wouldn't. I found no evidence of that.
So the Jewish lawyers came and they were willing to divorce people. That's when they first came into their money. So like say,
What? Oh my God.
with me and Jay, with our culture, with the darker Jews. First of all, because you
It
got
just happens when anybody starts talking deep.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the dark.
Yeah, and like the people around are just like, yep, this is some deep stuff we're getting into. So does Kanye not realize being prejudiced against Jewish is really negative? No, he's anti-Semitic. He's anti-Semitic. No, I don't. I think he knows fully. I think he's fully aware of his bigotry, and is perfectly fine. In fact, wants this bigotry to be accepted, which is why he's going on this like tirade about like platforms and whatnot. Yeah, he wants this kind of bigotry to be accepted. Yeah.
Jews, the 12 lost tribes of Israel.
So remember, I explained this last week. This is the Black Israelite stuff. Black Israelites are a group that believe they are truly the Jews. It's often a very racist set of beliefs.
We are, because we Jewish also. We from Africa also. We're the blood of Christ. So
Now, if you're confused by that last line, it's bonkers. I won't even get into it.
we're not just black. We are Jew, just like the Jewish people. And now we're coming into money. But the main thing is, I got to drink the Douce over the Hennessy as the first step to us coming together, like how the Jewish people came together. But we couldn't even
But you, okay, yeah, none of this makes sense. So free speech but no consequences. I mean, it's not even free speech. He just wants to be a bigot. He just wants to be anti-Semitic. Like, free speech isn't even like at play here because he wants to create an environment that would suppress the free speech of everybody else. So yeah, that's not even at play here. He just wants to be anti-Semitic.
even talk about. I remember Ben Horowitz called me after 444 and said, I don't know about Jay giving up Jewish business secrets. And these secrets.
Okay. Ben Horowitz, I mean, listen, there's no evidence that happened. I guess it's hard to comment on something so insane.
He's talking about building up the properties and stuff like that.
Yeah,
On 444.
these secrets they not finished.
What he's arguing is that Ben Horowitz, who's a venture capitalist and Jewish, presumably because his last name is Horowitz, I'm assuming, he's saying he called up Jay-Z when Jay-Z was starting, I guess, to make investments in real estate. I assume by Jay he means Jay-Z, and told him that's a Jewish business secret. Right. Buying real estate, that's a secret. I have never seen anything like this. I have never seen anything like this. And you can, of course, say,
Really?
oh, it's simply mental illness. Well, sure. I mean, he sounds mentally ill in a...
No, it's not. Mental illness does not make you anti-Semitic. Okay, I've said this before. I'll say this again. No, if he is indeed, to the best of our knowledge, he has diagnoses of bipolar and maybe something else, but that doesn't excuse. But that does not excuse his anti-Semitism. I don't know what Hulk Hogan has to do with this.
a lot of different ways. But he has become fixated with Jews in a way that is reminiscent of the worst of the worst of the worst anti-Semites. We will have that clip on our Instagram at David Pakman Show. Hard to find a true
That's a shit take by Pakman. What, saying that this is like the worst that he's ever seen? Yeah, like, oh, sorry, I forgot. I was gonna make this point. Either Pakman hasn't really been online that often. Maybe he doesn't care to take a gander at what anti-Semitism looks like online. But if you spend any amount of time on any of these platforms like Parler or Gab is even worse. I would argue, Gab is notorious. The head of Gab is a Christian fascist and anti-Semitic. But yeah, equating mental illness with anti-Semitism. I don't know if that's what he's doing. Let me rewind that for a second.
Worst of the worst anti-Semites. We will have that clip on our Instagram at Dave. You can, of course, say, oh, it's simply mental illness. Well, sure. I mean, he sounds mentally ill in a lot of different ways. But he has become fixated with Jews in a way that is reminiscent of the worst of the worst of the worst
this is bad.
anti-Semites.
This is bad.
We will have that clip on our Instagram at David Pakman Show. Hard to find a true word in that segment. Right.
And then, of course, we get the ads. Yeah, he should have like had a disclaimer, or he should have at least finished that thought by saying that mental illness or like being diagnosed with something does not equal like anti-Semitism, or does not give you the right to be anti-Semitic. And I think that would have been fine. But yeah, I think that he left that open there, which is not good. Not good, because you get the impression that he's basically saying that all this is just a product of mental illness. It's not. It's not. But yeah, what I wanted from this was the interview. How did nobody in that room stop this? How did nobody in that room just ask a couple of questions like, "Hey, where are you getting all these ideas? Can we get some like proof about what's going on here?" They all kind of just went along with what Kanye was saying. Celebrities shouldn't get a pass for being shitty. True. True. This is very true. It's not about being humble. It's about being anti-Semitic. The problem here is the anti-Semitism. All right. Which I think now, we can kind of get into this one here. Kanye West, who now goes by Ye, is that like his official name? Is that his like official like legal name now? Ye agrees to buy conservative social media platform Parler. Kanye West, the superstar rapper who has made several inflammatory and anti-Semitic comments in the recent weeks, has agreed in principle to buy a conservative social media platform, Parler, the app's parent company said in a statement on Monday. In a world where conservative opinions are, quote, okay, wait, this is important. This is important. Quote, in a world where conservative opinions are considered to be controversial, we have to make sure we have the right to freely express ourselves. So here we have the whole, the game is being given away here, right? Because conservative opinions, but what he means by that is I want to be able to be as anti-Semitic as possible, and I want to be able to freely express bigotry, and be as hateful as possible, and I should have a right to do this. So this kind of gives it away, right? When conservatives talk about free speech, this is really what they're talking about. Kanye just kind of gives it away here. What's the relevance of this question? That's a weird question. Who did you think did 9/11? Why are we talking about 9/11? In the context of Kanye West wanting to be as anti-Semitic as possible, and conservatives wanting to be anti-Semitic and bigoted and hateful under the guise of free speech. But Bush? Okay, whatever. Financial terms of the deal weren't announced, the company previously said it raised $56 million dollars in funding from outside investors. The moves comes after Ye was locked out of his a Twitter account and Instagram account for making anti-Semitic remarks. In one post, Ye played into a long-standing anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that fellow rapper Sean Diddy Combs is being controlled by Jewish people. On Twitter, meanwhile, Ye's account was restricted after he said he would go quote DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. A representative for Ye didn't immediately respond for a request for comment. I don't care about pop culture news, that's why I asked. Okay, this isn't pop culture news, this is politics. What are you talking about? Just because there's a pop culture person involved in this story, doesn't mean that this isn't, like, relevant to politics. When you've got people like Kanye West, making stuff up like this, spewing anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, attempting to buy platforms so that he can further these type of stuff, and bolster the ability for people to be like this, or for people to spread this nonsense, given the fact that he's given a lot of support to Donald Trump, I mean, yeah, it does have to do with politics. What does DEFCON 3 mean? DEFCON 3, I'm going to assume what he means is like the threat level, which DEFCON 3 is actually on the low end of the scale. I don't know. It doesn't have to make sense. With all that's going on, Kanye is irrelevant. Okay. Well, you can start a stream, and you can talk about what you think is relevant. I don't know about you, but Nazi rhetoric in the context of what's going on around the world, especially with the rise of like the far right and whatnot, I think it's pretty fucking relevant. But whatever, you know. Especially with the fact that this guy has a lot of resources and money to fund things like this. And why DEFCON 3? I already told you, Alio. I have no idea. It doesn't make sense. DEFCON 3 is supposed to be like the lowest level of threat, I think. No, this has nothing to do with nuclear war references. Nothing like that. People getting more comfortable with Nazi apologies is a huge problem. He's just spreading it. Yeah, that's exactly my point, and I think it's very relevant considering like he's been on like he's been seen around with like Candace Owens, who also has a massive platform and has been spreading some indistinguishable rhetoric from Nazi shit. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to provoke you. You're not provoking me. You're just saying some really irrelevant. You're just saying some nonsense. That's why. I mean, do you think me pushing back on your statements counts as me being provoked? I'm not talking about Ukraine. I'm talking about here. What's this whataboutism? Why are you trying to pivot to Ukraine? Nobody's talking about Ukraine. DEFCON goes from 1 to the highest and 5 is the lowest. Yeah, okay, so 3 is like in the middle. Sorry, my bad. Fake news, everybody. DEFCON 3, Alio, is middle. So I don't even know why he chose DEFCON 3. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. There's a lot of Nazis here too, so I don't know what the hell the point of that comment was. Middle of the road racism. Yeah. There you go. Ye's net worth is reportedly about $2 billion. Much of his fortune comes from his Yeezy sneaker brands and his partnership with Gap and Adidas. However, Ye severed business ties with Gap recently, and Adidas said it's also reviewing its business relationship with him. JP Morgan Chase also cut ties with the rapper. Good. Parler is one of the several right-wing friendly platforms to emerge during the Donald Trump era as the former president's supporters claim unfair treatment by Twitter and other apps. Again, this kind of just lends credence to this, to the idea that really the problem that conservatives have is not free speech. The problem that conservatives have is that they can't be openly bigoted, racist, and anti-Semitic. That's the problem that they have. He's talking like... Why is Kanye talking like this? Because he's an anti-Semite. That's why. There's also Getter, which is run by former Trump advisor Jason Miller, and Trump's own app, The Truth Social, its parent company is under federal investigation as it seeks to go public. Conservative-friendly video platform Rumble went public last month. Parler, which initially launched in 2018, was swept up in controversy last year over the role it played in January 6th insurrection at the Capitol building. That led to a slew of tech companies, including Google and Amazon, to blacklist the service, rendering its app and website inaccessible. In September, however, Google reinstated the app on Play Store, stating that the company changed some of its content moderation policies and enforcement. The Apple Store restored the app earlier in April of 2021. Parler has sought to reduce its dependence on technologies from other firms by establishing its own cloud infrastructure in-house. The company set up a new parent company in September called Parliament Technologies, aimed at providing its own cloud service for online business. The future is uncancelable. Yeah, whatever, dude. Ali with another 11 biddies, thank you. But Craig, yeah, it's because fundamentally they don't care about cancel culture. They never did. In my opinion, they never cared about cancel culture. They just want to be the ones to do this. After Ye's suspension from Instagram, the rapper turned to Twitter, posting for the first time in 2020. Look at this, Mark. How are you going to kick me off of Instagram? He wrote, referring to Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Instagram parent Meta. How are you going to tweet at the CEO of Meta or Facebook or whatever? And of course, Elon Musk backing this person. Of course. They don't realize free speech goes both ways. Yeah, no, they do. The problem is that they fundamentally don't care about that. They don't care about the free speech of other people. That's the issue. They're fully aware. It's just that they want to unilaterally control that direction. Elon Musk, a friend of Ye's, of course, responded by saying, quote, "Welcome back to Twitter, my friend." My friend. Yeah. Ye was then locked out of his Twitter account for a violation of his policies, after which Musk tweeted he had talked to Ye and expressed my concerns about his recent tweet, which I think he took to heart. Sure he did. He took it so to heart. He took it so to heart that Kanye felt the need to repeat this in several different interviews, one of them which being the one that we just saw a few minutes ago. Fiona Hill has said that Musk is a mouthpiece for Putin. That's funny. Musk is a mouthpiece for whatever makes him money. Musk is currently pursuing an acquisition of Twitter. That takeover was revived last week after the Tesla CEO said he would buy the social media platform at the $54.20 a share price they initially agreed on in April. The billionaire, who called himself a, quote, free speech absolutist, has said that he wants to make a Twitter digital town square and promotes free expression. Oh, man. If that ever comes to fruition, that's going to last about a total of, like, 1 day before they have to go back to having actual terms of service. Commenting on the agreement Monday, Parliament Technologies CEO George Farmer said it will change the world. Yes, Kanye acquiring Parler is going to change the world. To change the way the world thinks about free speech. Again, this has nothing to do with free speech unless you think, unless you interpret free speech as a euphemism for I want the ability to spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Yeah. Ye is making groundbreaking moves into the free speech media space by repeatedly making anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Gotcha. Okay. And will never have to be feared and never have to fear being removed from social media again. Farmer said in a statement, once again, Ye proves that he's one step ahead of the legacy media narrative. Parliament will be honored to help him achieve his goals. Again, the point, this translation, it was never about free speech. Wait, what do you mean wait? Wait for what? What's up? Free speech does not mean I get to say what I want. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But this was never about free speech. I mean, like in their heads, it's like a euphemism. They're trying to say two contradictory things at the same time, right? It's like they're trying. It's like literally 1984. I'm sorry, it's the meme. They're literally trying to hold two. They're literally trying to take two things at the same time that don't mix. They don't. They contradict themselves. Yeah. I mean, you can. Yeah, you can. Whether or not there will be consequences for that is a whole different story. Which is again what they don't talk about that part because they don't want consequences. What they really mean about when they talk about free speech, yes, some animals are more free than others. That's right. When they talk about free speech, it's just a euphemism for I want to be as bigoted, as racist, as anti-Semitic as possible, and every time someone calls me out on it, that's a violation of my free speech, and I should be allowed to be this way. Like, okay, dude, no. You're just mad that people are calling you out. That's the problem. That's the issue they're having. They're mad that people are like, wow, Kanye's being incredibly anti-Semitic. That's the problem. And then Kanye gets really mad when terms of service are violated and gets yeeted. Like, it's not about free speech. None of this has to do with free speech. Farmer is married to conservative activist Candace Owens. Ah, there we have it. Okay, it's all coming together now, folks. It's all coming together. It's all making so much more sense. So much more sense. He's also the son, Candace Owens, one of Ye's advocates on social media. He's also the son of Michael Farmer, a British Conservative politician who sits in the upper chamber of the UK Parliament. There we go. Heat, how's it going? Yes, particularly a very, very wealthy farmer at that. George Farmer was named CEO of the conservative-leaning social app in May last year after a dispute between its early investor Rebecca Mercer and ex-Parler chief John Matz, which led to Matz's ousting. Mercer, the heiress daughter of hedge fund billionaire Robert Mercer, is Parler's controlling shareholder. So there you have it. I knew he was rich. I saw his teeth. Candace Owens is not always conservative. I don't know. It's hard to parse out where the real person is and the grifter, and where the grift begins. It's kind of hard to parse out like what she actually believes and what she actually is. Yeah, I don't know. For all we know, like the fact that she's so comfortable with doing this, maybe she just was always predispositioned to this. All right. Folks, if you have a second, and you want to support this channel, consider going to the YouTube channel and hitting the subscribe button. It really does help us out. We've just crossed over the 200 subscriber count, thanks to you guys. So if you guys have a second, before we continue, and you guys want to help this channel out, just head on over, hit the big red subscribe button. It's free. Most conservative pundits are grifters. True. True. All right. So, I think last week, I wanted to wait till more information came out. Last week, a couple of chuckle fucks showed up at, I think a town hall or town council meeting or whatnot, and yelled at AOC. And it turns out, and this should be to the surprise of nobody, one of them, oh, actually both of them are going to show up in a, at an event where Jackson Hinkle, Haas Infrared will be speakers at. It's a it's an event where their aim is to defeat, quote, green fascism. In which Jimmy Dore will be in attendance, of course. And as of recent, Tucker Carlson apparently will also be in attendance. So, surprise, surprise, when we found out who these chuckle fucks are, one of them was a 2-time Trump supporter. I voted for Trump twice. The event scheduled with the hashtag defeat green fascism. When you take a look at this hashtag, you get some very, very interesting people. You start to take a look here. One of them here, very, very interesting tweets. My mom is a Christian conspiracy theorist, and I told her about the Schiller Conference, which is the conference that these two chuckle fucks who yelled at AOC attended as speakers. Which is right here. This is the panel. This is the your crawl at the bottom showing it's still September. It's September in my heart, okay? It's still September in my heart and in my soul. No, I'm gonna have to change it. Good catch. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, this is an alternate universe where it's still September. True, time doesn't really change or move in this room. It's just kind of stagnant. This is a stagnant piece of time where while you're in here, it is still the exact same day and time and everything. Nothing changes. Anyways, when you start to look into the defeat green fascism, which is the hashtag that these people are using, you get to start seeing some very interesting tweet, such as, my mom is a Christian conspiracy theorist, and when I told her about the Schiller Conference, which is a conference that these chuckle fucks were at, hashtag defeat green fascism, and she went off about population reduction plans by Gates, the Rockefellers, she even brought up Francis Bacon. She's already LaRoche-pilled and based. Yeah, and this is one of the organizers, I believe, who also used that video of these two chuckle fucks yelling at AOC to promote this event. As I said, you got Haas Infrared, Jackson Hinkle, and of course, this same dude who was one of the people that yelled at AOC. Wake me up when September ends. I like that song. And surprise, surprise, Tucker Carlson will be attending the boat party. Yeah. I think I made my case, and I think that anybody that believes these two chuckle fucks should probably take a second look at the kind of people these two dudes are associated with. Yeah. So that's just a follow up on that story, because, like, man, that discourse last week was making the rounds. But I refused to comment until I had all the pieces. And yeah, F those guys. Fuck them. I don't know what the green fascism means, other than some kind of anti-ecological, anti-science, I guess, movement, thinking that there's some kind of conspiracy about renewables or something. I don't even know, because I tried to look up their event. And it was lacking of information, to say the least. I mean, we can go to this. This is the guy who made the event right here. Yeah, okay. I think I got the point. If you go to their website, which is this, This is what I'm talking about. Jackson Hinkle. Yeah. Haas. I believe this is the guy that yelled at AOC. Nothing here about like what this has to do with ending green fascism. We don't even know what that is defined as anywhere in the description of this event. I unfortunately had to read the entirety of this, and I was not able to find a single mention of what green fascism what type of green fascism they aim to defeat, because of course this is all bullshit. These people that yelled at AOC and the people that they hang out with, that they're associated with, is enough for me. Yeah, I don't trust any of these people. And the fact that they're boasting about Tucker Carlson being in attendance at their boat party, where you can RSVP to meet Tucker Carlson, is literally everything I need to know. I'm good. I'm good. Ecofascism is a thing. Apparently, yes. But it's nothing to do with what these clowns are trying to push. Have you been affected by any hurricanes? No. Tucker is a warped pundit and does not need a job as heir to Swanson Food. True. Yeah, but somehow Fox still supports his white power hour. Atlantic coast is now a breeding ground for supercharged hurricanes. The U.S. Atlantic coast has been a breeding ground for supercharged hurricanes, which are likely to batter coastal communities even harder if the world remains hooked on fossil fuels. Global heating caused by greenhouse gas emission from burning oil, gas, and coal. No, he doesn't do it for the money. He does it because he believes in these ideas, and he is motivated by this, because he doesn't need it. He doesn't need the money. The money isn't the issue here. He actually probably, yeah, power and the belief of these ideas, the ability to spread these ideas. Global heating is caused by greenhouse gas emissions from burning oil, gas, and coal, is the main factor contributing to increasing severe storms and flooding affecting the American East Coast over the past 4 decades. Yeah, like, the fact that, like, people can't see this is just wild to me. Like, we clearly need to move away from fossil fuels. It is undeniable. Study after study after study after study after study proves the same thing over and over again. The fossil fuel companies knew. The fossil fuel companies knew from decades ago, since the 70s and maybe earlier. That we know of. There's been studies from the 70s and 80s that these fossil fuel companies absolutely knew where this was going. So, like, the fact that people still attempt to dispute this and still run defense for fossil fuels is just beyond me. Global heating caused by greenhouse gas emissions from burning oil gas is the main factor contributing to increasing severe storms and flooding affecting the American East Coast over the past 4 decades. Rapid intensification has led to storms gathering strength so quickly it has become increasingly difficult to provide timely warnings and evacuation orders to residents. Not only that, I think that like just by like going what happened in this recent hurricane, we've got to have a better way of telling people when they need to evacuate. So essentially, if you're north X amount of miles and south X amount of miles of the cone of, the projection cone, then you should be prepared to evacuate, as it could change at any given point. I think the rules in terms of like giving people warnings need to change. Breaking news, Ron DeSantis gets terrible news as a Venezuelan migrant who helped his minion, Perla Huerta, trick asylum seekers into flying to Martha Vineyard, flips and begins to cooperate with the Texas Sheriff investigation. Nice. I hope more information comes out about that soon. Ron DeSantis is a monumental piece of shit. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. If you're in Florida, fuck that guy. Vote against him. If you're in Florida, don't forget, November, folks, couple of weeks. Vote against Ron DeSantis. Fuck that guy. Make sure you talk to everybody that you know if you live in Florida. Make it apparent, make it obvious, and make a strong case by arguing that, it's because of Ron DeSantis that these Venezuelans, which are a huge voting group, or a huge community in Florida, in particular in the areas, in the areas that are highly contested, Venezuelans make up a good, chunk of the population. So make the case. Ron DeSantis is a piece of shit who doesn't believe in the process and just effed over a bunch of Venezuelan migrants in an inhumane way, in a humiliating and disgusting stunt. So make that clear to people if you live in Florida or know people that live in Florida, to try to get people to vote against this guy, because fuck that guy. The warming planet is poised to bring hurricanes that intensify quicker, and with them a heightened risk of flooding to East Coast communities, with modeling suggests that it will get even worse without radical action to curb greenhouse gases. Yeah, I mean, man, study after... This isn't like a new thing, by the way. Study after study after study shows that if we do not change course, it's catastrophic. Remember that he refused to denounce Nazis marching through Orlando? True. True, we talked about that. Literal freaking swastikas and Nazi symbols were just just chilling at an event outside a CPAC event, his event that he was I think he was about to... Was he like a guest speaker or something to the effect? No, it's better, bipedal meatbag. It's better. His aide made a tweet suggesting that the Nazi protesters were just Democratic operatives, and then that the aide deleted it. Oh man, it just gets better. Ron DeSantis' press secretary's I'm sorry, hold on. Here we go. Is facing massive backlash after she sent tweets on Sunday questioning whether pro-Nazi demonstrations in Orlando over the weekend were organized by Democratic staffers. Her comments drew widespread condemnation from elected officials, as well as prominent South Florida rabbi who called the tweets from Christina Pushaw reprehensible. In the now deleted tweet, it gets better, folks. Pushaw, I don't know, whatever, suggested that a group of about 20 protesters who were seen wearing Nazi symbols and shouting anti-Semitic slurs on Saturday could be political opponents of DeSantis trying to frame the governor in a bad light. Wow. Or maybe they think he's their guy. Her tweet was a reference to several people organized by the anti-Trump Republican group, the Lincoln Project, who posed, okay, but the Lincoln Project aren't Democrats. You know that, right? Pretends to be shocked. The Lincoln Project aren't Democrats, so how could you make that connection? Whatever. Do we even know if they're Nazis, or is this a student like white nationalist who crashed a Youngkin rally? Yeah, damn. I mean, the easiest thing in the world would have been like, yeah, fuck those Nazis. Fuck them, we don't want them here. Why was that so hard? This is the first time Pushaw drew criticism for posting controversial tweets. In November, Pushaw was critical of the Republic of Georgia, a country where she previously served as a political consultant, for requiring vaccine passes for people in the country to enter places like restaurants. In doing so, she implied that Rothschilds were behind the decision. Oh no, JQing. Damn. So we have a history of JQing, deleting tweets, trying to downplay literal Nazis. Wow. Damn. And this is the aide to Governor DeSantis. She later then issued an apology, which of course means fuck all if her actions continue. Yeah. After facing swift blowback on Twitter, Pushaw on Sunday night followed up her initial tweet with another post admitting that she did not know who staged the Orlando protests and stressed that Nazi symbolism and hate speech are wrong. Wow. So only after facing blowback did you have to make a statement that Nazis and hate speech are wrong. Damn, dude. Really? Jesus Christ. Wow. Amazing. I'm just saying, if you know people in Florida, this is the kind of stuff that you know should be at the front and center. I'm just saying. No, this has nothing to do with Trump. They're like this has been a theme of the Republican Party, regardless of Trump. Well, I mean, why is it so hard? What is the issue here? What is the issue of denouncing literal Nazis? Why is that so hard? Why is that so hard? DeSantis is up by 6 points currently. Really? 6 points? Damn. It's actually lower than I thought. It's lower than I thought it would be. Because, like, usually when you have, like, an incident, like a natural disaster and whatnot, usually the leaders of those, like, at the head of, you know, at the time, usually get, like, a boost, like a rally behind the flag kind of boost. But it doesn't seem to be that strong. I don't know. Maybe we'll see as it gets closer to November. But the fact that he's only up 6 points is is not a good sign for DeSantis. He might win, and if he wins, it'll be very close. If he wins, it's going to be a very close race. So yeah, if you know anybody in Florida, or are in Florida, just F this guy. Okay. The nearshore environment has absolutely become favorable for hurricanes near the Atlantic coast, and that's very consistent with the rising hurricane intensification we have observed over the region. Said Balaguru, a climate scientist and lead author. Our findings have profound implications for coastal residents, decision and policymakers. Analyzing storm activity and conditions that shape them, the researchers found that the rate at which hurricanes gathered speed near the U.S. Atlantic coast increased significantly between the years 1979 and 2018. The Atlantic coast has a unique mix of environmental conditions not found in the Gulf of Mexico, another hurricane hotspot, that makes the eastern U.S. particularly vulnerable to rapidly intensifying and wetter storms, according to researchers from the Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Last month, Hurricane Ian killed at least 126 people and caused widespread flooding and infrastructure damage in Florida after transforming from a tropical storm to a Category 4 within 24 hours. Storms that intensify close to the shoreline pose a more serious threat to life, land, and property, as rising sea level means storm surge is higher and reaches further inland. Did she actually mean to denounce the Nazis? Well, I don't know. I personally think that the fact that she had to face backlash to even make a comment about it tells me everything I need to know. The fact that it required a lot of social media backlash, and the fact that she deleted her tweet trying to say that these were like Democratic operatives, is everything I need to know. For a storm to explode in strength or to undergo rapid intensification, it requires near-perfect environmental conditions that do not happen often. But the ingredients needed for this perfect storm recipe, warm ocean surface, high humidity, low wind shear, and the spinning motion of air, vorticity, have become increasingly common as greenhouse gas emissions have built up. One major factor is that as the planet warmed, the temperature difference between land and water has widened. As higher air pressure over the cooler sea blows inland towards warmer, low-pressure areas, the Earth's rotation guides these winds in a cyclonic swirling direction, sucking up warm, moist air and converting its energy into damaging winds. As moist air rises inside the hurricane's core and cools towards the top, water vapors condense and emits heat, further energizing the storm. Warmer land temperatures strengthen this twisting motion that pulls humid air up, while a warmer sea surface, also a product of greenhouse gas warming, adds even more humidity, a crucial ingredient for intensification. Another important factor is the wind shear, which measures the strength and direction of the wind higher up in the atmosphere. The findings built on previous studies which shown that the growing contrast in land-sea temperatures also associated with the changing rainfall pattern and drought. This study adds a new and important consequence: changes to hurricane behavior in coastal regions that could affect large populations around the world, said Ruby Leung, atmospheric scientist and co-author. Ian was one of the strongest storms to hit the U.S. coast, but not the deadliest. In 2017, in Puerto Rico, Hurricane Maria, which caused the longest blackout in U.S. history and led to 3,000 deaths, intensified from a Category 1 to a Category 5 in just 15 hours. The same mix of pro-hurricane conditions could form in many other regions, including those near the East Asian coastline, the northwestern Arabian Sea, according to the study. Projections using several climate models suggest that the destructive trend looks set to continue unless fossil fuels are phased out. Balagaru said that what we have seen is likely related to climate change. Natural variability does play a role, but to a lesser degree. So yeah, this idea that we need to continue the path that we're on is ridiculous. The fact that like there are people that are still skeptical about renewables, the fact that people are still unwilling to acknowledge the level of problems that we're facing here now, not in a couple of years, not in a decade, now, is just baffling to me. The reality is climate change, the climate crisis is here, and we should be doing everything in our power to eliminate greenhouse gases, to eliminate CO2, and phase out fossil fuels. I mean, it's not really an option. It's not. Continuing down this path is significantly worse. And the longer we wait, the less aggressive we get with these policies, the more CO2 and the more warming will get locked in for the future, and the worse it will get. And of course, as we continue down this path, tipping points will be reached if they haven't already. If the locked-in, if the locked-in global warming, it doesn't push them already, despite what we do. Once those tipping points are reached, there's going to be a lot of irreversible damage, and that will affect a lot of people. It will affect the entire planet. It's just really frustrating that we're slow rolling this so much, and we're just unwilling. Not just like as just one nation, but like as a whole, we're just failing on this front. And it's so sad that like a big chunk of it is just straight up greed from the fossil fuel industry. For a couple of bucks, for literal money, we're dooming the only planet that we know that can sustain life for the future generations. For money, a concept invented by humans. Think about that. Chew on that for a second. The Antarctic ice is melting faster at any point in the last 5,000 years. Yep. And if it hasn't already, the tipping point, once those tipping points are reached, they will irreversibly change that. And that will bring its own problems. To name one, sea level rise. All right, folks, let's switch gears. DOJ calls for 6-month sentence for Trump ally Steve Bannon. The Justice Department is recommending that Steve Bannon, a former Trump advisor, among other things, be sentenced to 6 months in jail and a $200,000 fine after he defied a subpoena to testify before the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th insurrection. Monday's court filing by the DOJ argues that Bannon exacerbated the attack on the Capitol by evading the committee subpoena and that he did not fully comply with the DOJ's own pre-sentencing investigation, accusing him of bad faith strategy of defiance and contempt. As a response to the DOJ, Bannon lawyers for Bannon. What? That's so weird. Okay, whatever. Asked for probation and to stay out of prison pending an appeal. Yeah, F that guy. Like being one of like the crucial people who egged on, who continues till this day, talking about like election denial and whatnot. The fact that this guy is only getting 6 months is just wild to me. Anyways, hold on. I just got like Omega triggered. 1 second, folks. Quote, Democrats' destruction of the fossil fuel energy industry is a fool's pursuit. Okay. First of all, the Democratic Party is not by any stretch of the imagination interested or even what it seems like to me, even entertaining this idea. Joe Biden has made a couple of, things here and there, but the reality is the Democratic Party is nowhere near where they should be. I wish the Democratic Party was moving towards the destruction of the fossil fuel industry. I would support that and replace it with clean and renewable energy. Yes, I would 100% support that. But that's not what's happening. There's no point to this tweet. There's literally no point to this tweet. And like people support this. People like without a single iota of critical thinking support this.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Thanks, Representative Green. Alio with the 10 biddies, thank you so much. I need to put that on my soundboard. Anyways, no, none of this is true. But yet people believe this. Sorry, I got like distracted. Anyways. They say he believes the former president asserted executive privilege to bar his testimony. Bannon was convicted on 2 counts of contempt of Congress this summer and is expected to be formally sentenced October 21st. It's a good one to have. Yeah, I know. It's so relevant, especially to like the clowns that I cover. It's super relevant. I should just have it on deck. Really. Bannon was convicted of 2 counts of contempt and is expected to be formally sentenced on October 21st. Trump's former aide was subpoenaed last year by the committee along with other Trump associates for an alleged meeting at the Willard Hotel near the White House the night before January 6th. Congress later voted to refer Bannon for criminal contempt of Congress, and he was indicted 3 weeks later by the Department of Justice. Specifically, Bannon faced 1 count for failing to appear for a deposition, another for refusing to hand over documents. Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's what you missed. Hold on, let me see if I can bring it up. How's it going, Maple Leaf Dragon? Here we are. Yeah. Completely divorced from reality. Nothing here is remotely close, other than like the chart that she posted. But what does that have to do with her point? If there's any point here to be made. Not gonna lie, if you look like you make an absolutely pristine spaghetti sauce. What? How did you get that impression? How did you get that impression? I don't even cook. Or let me rephrase that. I am a terrible cook. No one should ask me to cook. Unless you want like the most blandest food. Unless you want like the blandest food, I don't think I should be anywhere near the cooking. It just looked like someone I'd trust to host a great pasta dinner. I don't even know what that means or why is that relevant. But no, I'm the exact opposite. I'm an inexperienced cook that should not be allowed to host any dinner. Anywho, yeah, Maple Leaf Dragon, Clown Logic, Moving Train Media, how's it going? You look like you can open a killer jar of pasta sauce. Now that I can do, that I can do. I can open up, that. Whew! You give me the right jar. You give me the right jar, I'll guaranteed solve the problem, easy peasy. I ignore MTG because I do not want my IQ to decrease anymore while attempting to understand her point of view. There's nothing to understand here, because there's no basis of reality to even address this comment. There's no basis of reality to even address this comment. Like, what do I say to this? Like, it's just not true. It's just not true. I wish the Democratic Party was that aggressive. I wish the Democratic Party was engaged in a much more robust manner than this. But no, the Democratic Party is not engaged in any way, shape, or form in the destruction of the fossil fuel energy industry. There's just not. There's no point. Yeah, there's no point. Some people aren't picked up enough as children, and it shows. True. Anyways, yeah, there's nothing to address here except it's just a lie. Yeah, Dems get funded by fossil fuel lobbyists too. True. Yeah. Like 100%. They do get money from the fossil fuel lobby. So like where's this even coming from? It's just lies. It's just lies. That's what gets me. Anyways. All right. Congress later voted to refer Bannon for criminal contempt, and he was indicted 3 weeks later by the DOJ. Specifically, Bannon faced one count of failing to appear for deposition and another for refusing to hand over documents. Okay. So, Steve Bannon to be sentenced a couple days from now, this Friday. And the DOJ is calling for 6 months of jail time and $200,000 fine for Steve Bannon. Speaking of more corruption, the Trump Organization charged Secret Service as much as $1,185 per night to stay at the Trump properties. During Trump's presidency, Trump hotels charged the Secret Service as much as $1,185 per night, more than 5 times the recommended government rate, and the high rates continued after he left office, according to an investigation released on Monday by the House Committee of Oversight and Reform. Of course, because it's just one giant, like, scam. It's a con after con after con after con after con. The fact that they haven't put a stop to this guy, it's just wild to me. So Trump wants to keep charging? Yeah, he is charging. He did charge. More than 5 times the recommended government rate, and the rates continued after he left office, according to an investigation released on Monday by the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. Beginning on January 2017 through September 15th of 2021, the Secret Service received at least 40 waivers to let it spend more than the recommended per diem rates to stay at the Trump properties to protect Trump as a president and former president, and also to protect those around him. In one ledger obtained by the Oversight Committee and published in the report, the Secret Service was charged $1,160 for a room at the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. for agents protecting Eric Trump on March of 2017. The government rate for D.C. on that night was $242. Jesus Christ. On November of 2017, another ledger showed that the Secret Service was charged $1,185 to lodge agents protecting Trump Jr. The government rate was $201. Gotta milk that taxpayer dollar while complaining about, taxes. Yes, Trump is still charging the taxpayers for rent, taxpayers' rent for own security detail. Yep. Literally continues to extort the American people. And so the Secret Service was charged Saudi rates? I guess. In a statement on behalf of the Trump Organization, Eric Trump said any service rendered to the U.S. Secret Service or other government agencies at Trump-owned properties were at the request and were either provided at cost, heavily discounted, or for free. And what are those ledgers, my friend? The company would have been substantially better off if hospitality services were sold to full-paying guests. However, the company did whatever it took to accommodate the agencies to ensure they were able to do their job at the highest levels and their amazing men and women. The Secret Service said it would respond to finding the finding of the investigation and communications directly with the committee. The U.S. Secret Service has received a letter from the House Oversight Committee requesting information pertaining to the protection-related hotel charges, and the agency will respond directly to the committee with the requested information. Trump Organization properties overall charged the Secret Service more than $1.4 million for agents' accommodations when traveling to protect former President Trump, according to the figures first reported by the Washington Post. Bill Clinton charges Secret Service rent too, or at least he did a few years back. Yeah, did he charge them $1,000, 5 times the rate for a hotel room? Or yeah, all the better to funnel money, Trump directly. Money into Trump's pockets directly. Yep. Donald Trump finally gets served $250 million New York fraud suit after 3 weeks in a court order. So I guess the lawsuit is moving forward. I think it was a guest host on his property, so no house on his property, so no standard rent to compare to. Jeez. Yikes. Must be nice. No. Can you send that to me via whispers? Can you send that to me? On Wednesday, the New York Attorney General filed a civil suit against Trump, his business, and the eldest 3 children. Letitia James said Trump falsely inflated his net worth by billions of dollars and repeatedly and persistently manipulated the value of his assets to induce banks to lend money to Trump Organization. Trump was finally served through his attorney, Alina Habba, by sending in an electronic mail a message containing a secure cloud link to PDF attachments of all the documents. The lawsuit accuses the Trump Organization of a decade-long pattern of fraudulently exaggerating the company's worth. It seeks $250 million in penalties to bar the Trumps from doing business in New York. Well, I guess it's moving forward. We'll see what happens. The TLDR is the con man is going to con.
Former Fox News
Oh my God, hold on.
Former Fox News host and noted weirdo Bill O'Reilly has some advice for Donald Trump. It's advice that Bill O'Reilly announced in a recent interview on Real America's Voice with Charlie Kirk. When Charlie Kirk asked him, what do you think his role in the midterms is going to be? How do you think he factors into this midterm election? And Bill O'Reilly basically responded by saying, I hope he gets the hell out of the country and doesn't say anything. Here is Bill O'Reilly's actual response when asked, how does Trump play into the midterms? We all know, by the way, that both Charlie Kirk and Bill O'Reilly, huge Trump supporters, but this is still what O'Reilly had to say. I hope he disappears, because it doesn't do Republicans any good to have Donald Trump around the midterm elections. See, it's the independent voters that always make the difference now. A lot of them don't like Trump, and the more Trump is in the news cycle, the less the Biden administration and Democratic Party's failures are focused on. So if I were Trump, I'd, be down in Honduras or something and take a couple of weeks. Get out of the cycle. So Bill O'Reilly, the guy that went on a little Christmas tour with Donald Trump last December that, by the way, was struggling to sell tickets. So Bill O'Reilly knows firsthand how unpopular Donald Trump is because, he kind of had a financial stake in it and oops, didn't work out too well for you. But Bill O'Reilly is telling Donald Trump, leave the country because people hate you. That's what he's saying. I'm still flabbergasted by this. Flabbergasted enough to use the word flabbergasted, by the way. This is what a friend of Donald Trump is effectively telling him. You are toxic. You are toxic because of all the fake investigations, right? Right? That's what Bill O'Reilly did add in a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Like, well, the January 6th stuff, they're going to try to pin it all on him, so he needs...
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, Bill O'Reilly's obviously understanding that, yeah, he needs to go. But still defends him because he still has a significant hold of the conservative base, and you gotta defend the dear leader.
needs to leave. No, Bill.
Not a cult, by the way.
You already showed your hand, buddy. You told us point blank exactly why Trump should get out of there, because the independents, the moderates, they hate him. And, one of the few times in Bill O'Reilly's career, you're not wrong. They truly do. Donald Trump is well liked among the Republican Party, although not as much now as he was 2 months ago, but, whatever. Majority of them still like him. Majority of registered Republicans still want Trump to be the president again.
They must pray to it.
Outside the Republican Party, the majority of Americans, they don't like him. Majority think that he should be prosecuted. Majority think he shouldn't even be allowed to run for president again because of the investigations. And Bill O'Reilly is not stupid. He's a creep. He's a liar. But he is not stupid. He knows that that's what is happening. He knows that Donald Trump doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of actually winning a public office again. And more importantly, he understands.
Well, I disagree with this. I disagree with this. Do not underestimate Donald Trump. If there was a scenario where Trump is actually running in 2024, don't make this mistake. Don't underestimate him.
How bad it is for people to be talking about Donald Trump. I don't know that Charlie Kirk, by the way, was ready to hear that kind of honesty. Charlie Kirk is out there putting on events where Donald Trump is featured. Has been since Trump left office. So that may have, made him kind of be taken aback a bit. But O'Reilly's right. Trump should leave the country. Except, I'm going to go a little bit further. Where Bill O'Reilly says Trump should leave the country till after the midterms, I think Trump should leave the country forever.
True.
I'm totally 100% on board with that. I'll buy you the plane ticket. Hell, I'll max out my credit card buying you a first-class one-way ticket wherever the hell you want to go. As long as you promise to never come back. So, I'm adding on to Bill O'Reilly's advice. Donald Trump should absolutely leave the country. However, he should also never come back. Hey everyone, this is Aspen.
Aww. At Gitmo. He should lose his Secret Service protection. Yeah, I agree. The 10th district most likely to decide the control of the House. Farron's been learning from Twitch streamer pets bring in the money. True. Damn. I need to go more full on with that. They have nice cells for terrorists like Trump. Winning the House of Representatives was supposed to be a gimme for Republicans this year. Democrats' current majority is just 8 seats. And since the end, they do have a McDonald's, that's true. And since the end of World War II, the president's party has lost 26 House seats in the average midterm election. And while Republicans are still favored to flip the chamber, they are no longer the sure bets they once were. That's because the national political environment has improved for Democrats, likely partially due to the Supreme Court decision to overturn Wade and end the constitutional right to abortion. According to the deluxe version of the 538 forecast, Republicans have a 70 in 100 chance of taking control of the House. Democrats have a 30 in 100 chance. In other words, Democrats have about the same chance of winning the House as Houston Astros second baseman Jose Altuve has of getting a base hit. I don't know what this means, so it's irrelevant to me. Trump would likely prefer Proud Boys security. Didn't the Proud Boys work security for them? I don't know. The Proud Boys definitely have been involved in like running security for Republican events. I know that's happened. At those odds, the chamber is legitimately competitive, which places extra weight on every swing seat. But which state seats should we pay attention to? Thankfully, the 538 Oath Keepers. Gotcha. The 538 model can tell us, along with win probabilities, the model spits out the odds at which each district will be the tipping point seat in the House or the seat that clinches a majority for the winning party. After the election, imagine that you order all 435 House districts from biggest Republican victory to biggest Democratic victory. The 218th seat is the flipping point seat because it's the House median seat by partisanship. Therefore, the party that wins the tipping point seat and every seat that is the same color behind it has won the House. 538 model simulates the election 40,000 times. Here are 10 House seats that were the tipping point most often in these simulations. So here are, I guess, the 10 important seats. Iowa. Noon versus Axne. North Carolina, Hines versus Nickel. New York, Williams and Connolly. New Jersey, Keene Jr. and Melanowski. Oregon, Oregon's 5th district. Chavez de Remer, McLeod Skinner. Colorado's 8th district. Kirkmeyer. Carveo. Arizona, 2nd district. Crane versus O'Halloran. New Mexico's 2nd district. Harrell versus Vasquez. Pennsylvania's 7th district. Scheller versus Wild. Michigan, James. Michigan's 10th district. James versus Marlinga. One second, folks. I hear cats outside. Okay. It was this little guy. Say hello, buddy. Sorry about that, folks. Whew. Hold on. Sorry about that. Hopefully I didn't mess up my microphone. Can everybody hear me okay? We can? Okay, cool. He knocked my microphone. Okay. There you go. There's a sneak peek of Buddy. Does Dimple know you have his beanie? No. Dimple does not know that I have a beanie. But the difference between my beanie and Dimple's is that my beanie's more powerful. That's how this works. Feline aggro? No, I just heard him like meowing. It turns out he was here. Tonight is going to be freezing. It's gonna get freezing here. So Buddy is gonna stay with us for a couple of days. Since it's gonna be freezing throughout these couple of days. Yeah, he can't be outside. All right. The hype and the beanie doesn't reduce IQ. True. See, I know how to properly harness the power of the beanie. That's the difference. Temple just doesn't. So these are the 10 races that need to be paying attention that could decide the house. On average, some of these aren't entirely unwinnable. But it does seem like it's favored for the Republican Party to take the House. Immediately you can tell why Republicans are favored, but not guaranteed to retake the House. The GOP is favored in 9 of these 10 seats, but the Republican average chance of victory across these districts is just 60 in 100. Republicans are also helped because the battle in the House takes place on light red turf. The 2021 to 2022 congressional redistricting process largely preserved a Republican-leaning status quo. According to 538 Partisan Lean Metric, 7 of the most 10 likely tipping point districts are more Republican-leaning than the nation as a whole, which is a problem with gerrymandering, and the average partisan lean is plus 2.7. These 10 seats also clearly show the path to a House majority runs through the suburbs and exurbs. According to a 538 analysis of population density in these districts, it's all but the rural Arizona 2nd and urban Michigan 10th are predominantly suburban and or exurban. The suburbs and exurbs have increasingly become where elections are won and lost, and as the country realigns along urban rural lines, cities get bluer and the countryside gets redder, and that trend looks like it will continue in 2022. The list reflects how decisive open seats could be in the House too. Around 30 Democrats tried not to run for re-election in the House this year. That's significantly more than the number of Republicans who retired or ran for another office. 6 were also defeated in primaries, and 2 of those sort of appear on our list of likely tipping points. tipping point seats. In Oregon's 5th, a progressive Democrat, Jamie McLeod Skinner, defeated Representative Kurt Schrader, and Representative Andy Levine left the Michigan 10th behind in order to seek re-election in a bluer seat, which he lost in a primary to Representative Haley Stevens. Two completely new and therefore incumbent-less seats were also created by redistricting: the Colorado 8th and the North Carolina 13th. Finally, one seat on our list is open because of Republican retirement: the New York 22nd district, where Representative John Katko would likely have to run. The seat illustrates how Republicans can't just play offense this cycle; they also have to tend to their own backyard. If Democrats flip enough Republican-held seats, they could keep the House even if they lose a few of their own. So, I think that the fact that that the House is going to be decided on these tipping point seats tells you that my original assessment, which I continue to hold, is that it is indeed a coin flip, but I'm going to say that it most likely favors Republicans, and I would say that the Senate most likely favors the Democratic Party. Prior to this year, I would say to assume the GOP plus 10 versus the poll results, but the general distaste in public seems to have for the GOP lately, and the fact that a lot of Republicans succumb to COVID versus everyone else, it's hard to say now. Yeah, it's a coin flip. If you were to ask me this question beforehand, there's plenty of video footage. There's plenty of video footage of me saying like the Democratic Party is going to get completely decimated in these midterms. But now, my current and I will continue unless I get evidence otherwise that this is pretty much a coin flip. But we'll see. We'll see.
So my plan is to upload on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and eventually have a time that I upload that's regular. But because I'm ramping this up, I'm doing it in steps. Okay, so the first step, which was last week, was just getting these videos up and trying that. The second step is having 3 videos done a week. Hi, Rue. And the third step is doing it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday strictly. And then the fourth step is having a regular time in which I upload Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. See, it's a process. I'm working on the process. That being said, though, next week's probably not going to move on to the next process because I'm moving out of this apartment. So give me extra praise if I get out a video on Friday next week. But that's why there is an episode on Saturday. Hope you enjoy.
Roe v. Wade changes the game and adds a new dynamic.
Welcome
That's
to the
true.
Recap from the Beckosphere Climate Corner, your go-to place for international and U.S.-based climate news. I'm Becky Hogue, a climate communicator. Today is Saturday, October 15th. Let's jump right into today's news. Let's start with an extreme weather event. Due to drought, the Mississippi River has hit a low enough water level in many areas to disrupt and ground barges. Recently, more than 2,000 vessels got in a traffic jam due to this issue, and the only way to alleviate this problem right now is to expensively dredge the river, reduce how much cargo is loaded on the ships, or rely on other forms of transport. The Mississippi River feeds 90% of cat surgically attached to her back.
True.
8% of the global exports of feed grains and soybeans. A lot of the boats impacted by the traffic jams are carrying those goods, so this could impact both domestic and international food systems. Barges are one of the more sustainable transport options because one barge can hold as much cargo as 16 rail cars or 70 trucks and travel the load much farther, so losing this option is bad for the economy and the environment. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is currently in process of dredging the Mississippi from New Orleans to the Gulf of Mexico. Going further into the concept of economic impact, let's head into the climate studies. The U.S. has so far seen $15 billion disasters this year, and we still have 2.5 months to go. This makes it the 8th consecutive year we've experienced at least $10 billion events. The disasters this year were the ongoing drought and heat wave on the West Coast, fires on the West, flooding in Kentucky and Missouri, and Hurricanes Fiona and Ian down south, as well as 6 severe weather events in the Midwest down to northern Texas, 2 tornadoes in the south, and 2 hailstorms in the northern Midwest. Overall, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, NOAA expects to see loss and damage costs near $100 billion this year. Did you experience any of these billion-dollar extreme weather events? Let me know in the comment section below. Did you guys see Rue back there? The chair is like this thick. And zooming out, the World Meteorological Organization, or WMO, released a report stating that extreme weather events induced by the climate crisis pose as great of a risk to energy systems as Russia's invasion in Ukraine if we don't act now to modernize, stabilize, and diversify the grids as soon as possible. The report looks at ways in which climate change can destabilize energy sectors, but also how these grids can become more resilient. In it, the report said there's currently a 70% gap in countries' current decarbonization promises and the emissions reductions required by 2030 to meet the Paris Accord goal of keeping warming well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels.
About
As a reminder, we're currently at 1.1 degrees. The WMO says 3/4 of global greenhouse gas emissions come from the energy sector. Quote, "Time is not on our side, and our climate is changing before our eyes. We need a complete transformation of the global energy system. Transforming the energy system could bolster national security. Obviously, an area is not very secure when its power gets knocked out by a hurricane or a heat wave. In the US, a recent Climate Central analysis found that the average yearly power outages caused by extreme weather events rose by 78% from the 2001 to 2011 average and the 2011 to 2021 average. This can also include drought, which shuts down thermal, nuclear, and hydro energy sources that require water to cool down the system. In 2020, 87% of the world's energy relied on thermal, nuclear, and hydro that directly depend on water availability. Here are some more facts the WMO report gave. Quote, "Approximately 26% of existing hydropower dams and 23% of projected dams are within river basins that currently have a medium to very high risk of water scarcity. We probably should cancel those projects." Despite increasing energy resiliency clearly being a huge issue, just 40% of countries prioritize adaptation in the energy sector. One of the main things the WMO report points out is how climate services aren't being used enough to adapt the energy sector. Climate services are the production and delivery of relevant, credible, and useful climate information to equip decision makers in climate-sensitive sectors with better information to help society adapt to climate variability and change. Right now, the energy sector mainly works with weather services, not climate services, and it needs to use both. All WMO member countries have access to these services, but there seems to be disparity in what is being used. Additionally, developing countries have much less access to resources needed to modernize their grid best. Therefore, the organization promoted climate financing, particularly in places like Africa, which have 60% of the best solar resources globally, but only 1% of its PV solar capacity is installed. The report provided examples of how climate services are being used to help energy sectors adapt around the world. If you want to learn more, there will be a link to the report in the source list below, as I link everything in the source list below. To drive home further the risks we face in the future, let's look at heat waves. A sobering report by the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs and the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies calculated that 38 extreme heat events from around the world killed at least 70,000 people between 2010 and 2019 alone. The combination between global warming, an aging population, and urbanization will make heat waves even more deadly in the future, particularly for older adults and marginalized communities. For example, the UK heat wave this summer has been linked to over 2,800 elderly deaths in England alone, elderly being 65 years or older. The report projects a 700% global increase in the number of urban poor people living in areas that experience extreme heat by the 2050s, especially in West Africa and Southeast Asia. Global economic losses related to heat stress could jump from $280 billion in 1995 to $2.4 trillion in 2030, with low-income countries seeing the biggest chunk of these costs. The report, of course, calls on an increase in climate adaptation efforts, including investing in early warning systems for heat waves. Heat officers are already becoming more common in urban spaces to prioritize this effort. While the US is experiencing worsening heat waves, it's also getting more intense rain events due to warmer air holding more water. This is according to a new study published in the journal Geophysical Research Letters. For every degree Fahrenheit of warming, the air can hold 4% more water. In the eastern United States, the researchers observed a 4.5 to 5.7% increase in average daily rainfall on days when it rained. The central US was similar. The study didn't see an increase in rainy days, just how much rain fell on rainy days. In fact, it might be similar to hurricanes. We're seeing less events, but these events are hitting harder. In the western US, results have been mixed because we're just in a mega drought in general. Let's switch gears a bit to talk about environmental justice. A sector-wide survey initiated by Wildlife and Countryside Link, a coalition of UK environmental charities, found that the environmental sector has failed to be more inclusive. The survey revealed responses of 44 UK environmental organizations. 84% of the organizations said they have considered or were taking action to increase inclusion, but only 4% actually had a consistently implemented action plan to reach that goal. That's just one in about 20 environmental organizations that have enacted plans to increase ethnic diversity in their own organizations. Some barriers to entry include entry jobs being a volunteer job or low pay, and a lack of upward mobility. Some actions organizations could take to encourage an inclusive and diverse environment include implementing unconscious bias training, conducting in-depth research into racism, and creating programs that invite more people of color to enter leadership roles. Wildlife and Countryside Link produced a strategy to encourage more inclusion that many organizations have signed on to, including Friends of the Earth and Greenpeace. While this survey specifically looked within the UK, I'd imagine that this is probably part of a larger issue. If you work in the environmental fields, regardless of what country you're in, I would love to know your thoughts on this trend and strategies to encourage inclusivity. And continuing the theme of environmental justice, the European Central Bank found that banks with more women in leadership positions on average directed about 10% lower lending volumes to high polluting firms. By more women in leadership, I'm talking about any percentage over 37%. In general, the higher the education level of bank leadership, the less they'll loan to heavy polluting firms, but then adding more women in leadership on top of that leads to less dirty loaning. What do you think of this finding? Time for the climate victories. I know that was a lot of climate studies, huh? A group of 10 countries, including all G7 countries, handed the World Bank a joint proposal to institute fundamental reform to address global challenges better, including the climate and biodiversity crises. The German development minister Schulz said, quote, "The World Bank's current model is no longer appropriate in this time of global crises. Challenges and investment needs are so great that the model needs to be adjusted." Reform efforts include climate lending on better terms and target budget reform for governments that want to pursue policy reforms that help them to decarbonize. The countries expect to hear back from the bank on the proposal by the end of the year. It sounds like they are still allowing for loans, but we'll have to wait and see what these changes could actually look like. Loans are concerning because developing countries are already drowning in debt. On Wednesday, we discussed how 80% of island nations are in debt. Well, another report, this one by the UN Development Program, or UNDP, expanded the lens to look at all developing countries and found that 54 countries are in desperate need of debt relief to avoid even more extreme poverty and have any chance of fighting climate change. Quote, "A serious debt crisis is unfolding across developing economies, and the likelihood of a worsening outlook is..."
Planetary life expectancy sounds like it'll drop for the next few decades due to climate disruption, among other things. Yep. I would say that that's a possibility. I mean, you could see all the events that are happening, all the heat waves, the storms that killed people. Yeah.
High. The UNDP called for a recalibration of the G20-led Common Framework, a plan designed to help countries pushed into financial trouble by COVID-19 to restructure their debt. Only 3 countries have ever used it. So the UNDP called for the framework to be expanded to take in countries with a lot of debt and for any debt payments to be automatically suspended in the process. What do you think of this method versus other climate financing strategies that we've heard of? Let me know in the comment section below. Back to the climate victories now. Indonesia released a plan to subsidize the purchase of electric vehicles starting next year. The country wants to have 2.5 million EV users by 2025. I believe there's about 22.5 million vehicles on Indonesia's roads, over 28,000 of which are EVs right now. The main driver is reducing pollution. Indonesia has the 17th worst air pollution in the world, according to IQ Air Index. For context, only 4% of its energy supply comes from renewable energy. Indonesia is the largest coal exporter by weight in the world. The country has reached out to car makers like Hyundai and BYD to build an EV ecosystem in the nation's capital, Borneo, which has plans to run 100% on clean energy. Earlier this year, the government requested all state officials switch to electric vehicles and told its state utility company, PLN, to ramp up EV charging stations to reach the target of serving 2 million electric motorcycles and 500,000 EVs in less than 4 years. The government also plans to have its public transit be fully electrified in 5 years. Now they just gotta work on cleaning up their energy grid. But even with a dirty energy grid, electric vehicles are shown to still be cleaner than their gas-powered counterparts over their whole lifetime. Greta says you fucked up Germany. On public TV Tuesday, Greta Thunberg said that she thought it was a mistake that Germany chose to focus on coal energy instead of keeping nuclear power plants open past the winter.
I mean,
if you have them already running, I feel like it's a mistake to close them and focus on coal. She recognized that nuclear is heavily debated among environmental groups due to how long it takes to build, nuclear waste and disposal, and meltdown risk, yet it's energy dense and consistent. Germany's leadership isn't a fan of nuclear, and while it did allow for 2 of its nuclear plants' lives to be extended through the winter months, it seems to be more in favor of choosing coal for the long term and using coal as a way to replace the energy lost by decommissioning nuclear power plants in recent years. This record doesn't mesh well with Germany's pledge to phase out coal by 2030. Germany's financial minister, who's the only one in Schulz's government to emphatically support nuclear, praised Thunberg's comment. The leader of the conservative opposition party, the Christian Social Union, simply retweeted her interview and said, "Interesting." Climate activist groups have been very busy in England. 32 Just Stop Oil protesters glued themselves to the streets of West London, blocking 3 routes of traffic. For over 11 days now, police have made more than 300 Just Stop Oil arrests as the group rallies against the new North Sea Oil and Gas Lease Sales Trust put in motion. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the International Energy Agency have both stated that there is no room for any new large fossil fuel projects if we want to keep warming well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. So leasing 100 sites to projects would definitely not be consistent with the Paris agreements or the UK's decarbonization goals. Other conservation organization leaders are not necessarily discouraging protesting. The leaders of the National Trust, the Royal Society of the Protection of Birds or RSPB, and Wildlife Trust are weighing the idea of urging their millions of members to take the streets in protest. They called what Trust's government is doing a U-turn in nature, environment, and climate policies. RSPB's members have sent over 100,000 emails to MPs over the last 2 weeks, trying to get them to change course. National Trust leader McGrady had this to say, quote, "This is the biggest attack on nature certainly in my lifetime and let alone my career. This is unprecedented. That's why we're stepping forward with RSPB and Wildlife Trusts. We choose our battles very carefully and we don't do it very often." To add a little more fuel to the fire, last week Truss included green campaigners to her list of enemies reeled off during a speech at a Conservative Party conference. She called them an anti-growth coalition. Do you think the conservation organizations should let their members loose in the streets to protest? Let me know in the comment section below. In the US, the Danish renewable energy company European Energy created a subsidiary called EE North America, through which it plans to develop 10 gigawatts of clean energy projects in the US by 2026. That's enough energy to power 7.5 million homes. European Energy is active in 26 markets already and is recognized as a leader in wind, solar, and Power-to-X projects. Power-to-X projects are those that develop wind and solar farms to power the creation of green hydrogen, e-methanol, and jet fuel. They recently made the largest electrolyzer in the world, 500 megawatts, with the energy company Siemens to sell e-methanol to the shipping giant Maersk. The goal is to provide 300,000 tons of e-methanol by 2025. EE North America set up shop in Texas, so it'll be interesting to see which states see those 10 gigawatts of clean energy. Now let's look at the climate fails. Remember, don't get despondent, get mad. The CEOs of BlackRock, Citigroup, and Standard Chartered will not attend COP27, the large UN climate conference taking place in Egypt next month. All 3 attended COP26 last year, but this year they're sending another staff member to represent the company. A lot has happened since COP26, mainly that US Republicans have decided to wage war on any financial institution that even considers committing dropping fossil fuel clients from their portfolios. The GOP campaign has been fairly successful as BlackRock has basically done a 180 from being all bright-eyed and ambitious at COP26. And this is honestly just a sampling of the growing list of industry leaders that are choosing to put the most important climate conference of the year on the back burner. Bloomberg NEF gives COP27 only a 43% chance of succeeding in anything big. So that's exciting. Remember what I said earlier about the UK climate protests? So long ago? Well, I have a feeling that they're about to get worse because Truss and her energy PM banned solar farms from most of England's farmlands. They argue it takes land away from boosting food production, even though solar would take up less land than golf courses, even in its peak. Land is graded from 1 to 5, from fertile to least. Farmland currently takes up land graded 1 to 3A, and solar is mostly built on 3B because land in grades 4 and 5 are usually upland areas unsuitable for solar. But the government is considering designated 3B land also as farmland, which would essentially kill all current solar projects underway. This move has been estimated to potentially kill £20 billion in solar investments, and green groups, the energy industry, and the Labour Party all don't support this move. What do you think is Truss's rationale for this move? Enlighten me in the comment section below.
There is none.
Do you know who's actually intimidated by the Inflation Reduction Act? Canada. The Chamber of Commerce reported earlier this month that Canada risks falling behind the US in its net zero plans. The report says Canada needs to invest more money in its decarbonization efforts, plan for a just transition, and be more transparent about the challenges it faces. I like that there's a little bit of competitive spirit there, and I hope that Canada and the US can peer pressure each other into decarbonizing faster. Wouldn't that be cool? Let's finish off today's episode talking about an important piece of legislation that could end up very different depending on which way the US midterm elections go. That's fun. The Farm Bill, a spending bill that comes about every 5 years or so to address the agriculture industry, food systems, nutrition programs, etc., is on the table. Put plainly, Democrats have added climate-related provisions to the bill to reduce agriculture emissions and adapt to a more extreme climate. Republicans have already expressed interest in removing all of those climate provisions if they win back the House next month. Over a dozen members of the House Agriculture Committee are up for re-election this year, like Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. I talked about her and her opponent's climate and energy positions in my Twitch stream on Friday. If you haven't checked out the recording, it's on my second channel, Beccasphere Streams. Agriculture accounts for 11% of US emissions. So that's another reason why we need to worry about the midterm election. And that was your climate.
Why do Canadians care so much about us? What is the relevance of this comment? I mean, first of all, like, yeah, we have a lot of trade and partnership and whatnot, but I don't think that trying to have a little bit of small competition to see who can decarbonize faster is a bad thing. I don't know what the meaning, the point of that comment is.
Climate recap for Saturday, October 15th. Remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to support your local news organization.
We're not concerned with Canadian politics. Okay. I still don't see the point of your comment, but whatever.
Thank you so much to the people on Patreon who help support me and my fur baby Rue. A special shout out to the climate confident and courageous David H, Norman Inall, Greg H, Paul B, Phil Plasma, Dan Morton, Dane Chris, Nate, Stacker, and Bree C. I greatly appreciate your support of $5 or more. If you would like to support the Beckosphere, please check out the Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links in the description below for recurring or one-time payments. Bye for now.
Cool. Canada's economy is tethered to the U.S. economy, unfortunately, because it makes sense and you have no response. What are you talking about? Can you make a point? We're not, first of all, we're not concerned with Canadian politics. We are if it affects us. I don't know what the point of that comment is. Not only that, when it comes to like the climate crisis, every country's policies does inevitably affect us. So I don't see the point of what your point is. Vaughn Diva, how's it going? Howdy. I am hanging in there. All right, folks. I saw a recent video of the Gordie Howe Bridge. They're installing the deck now. What is that? Oh, I see. Is that it right there? Cool. It looks neat.
I'll put this steak on there.
Ah! Oh, I see. Cool. Two more years, give or take. Jeez. That's not too bad. 2 years? All right, folks, it is 7:30. Just over 7:30. Maybe we can, then maybe we can start defunding one billionaire. All right, folks. I do gotta get going. It's past 7:30, and I'm hungry. Oh, the current bridge is private owned. Gotcha. That's wild. Have a good evening. You have a good evening. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. And if you guys have a moment, head on over to the YouTube channel and hit the big red subscribe button. It really does help us out. Spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for the news and politics, Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you do all that. If you follow, you get 5 free emotes, alright? So, there you go. One of them being Vaquita the cat. Alright, folks. I gotta get out of here. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Laters. All right, hang tight, everybody. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.